The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual guests. If you're a sensitive snowflake that may get easily offended, then turn this off immediately. If you want to hear the real truth about the gun culture, then stick around. This is the Armed Citizen Podcast. What is going on, my Ghost Squad? Welcome to the Armed Citizen Podcast Live. This is episode number 228. Today's date is Tuesday, February 8th, 2022. If you're out there live on YouTube or on Facebook, make sure you say something. We don't know that you're out there unless you do. If you would like to call or text in, yes, you can call and text into the show. Utilize a Ghost Tactical hotline presented by our good friends Rod and Shelly Gates at Aegis Gun Care. That number is 530-364-4678. It's scrolling down below. If you are a veteran, really anybody, but especially if you're a veteran and you're in that hole trying to claw your way out and you're questioning if there's a way out or if there's still light out there, please call me, text me, email me 24/7. I can't give you any medical advice, but I sure as hell might be a decent ear to listen to. If you are looking for someone that can get you towards some medical help, please remember two things. One, you are not alone in this fight. You have a lot of brothers and sisters out here that are willing and able to help. And two, the world is a much better place with you in it. So please, I implore you, utilize the Veteran Crisis Hotline, 1-800-273-8255. Once again, 1-800-273-8255, and veterans press the number 1. We are spotlighting, as always, United States Marine Corps. If you have any questions on what it takes to earn a title United States Marine, see the website marines.com. And as always, we're a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. Please check out the website selfdefenseradio.net. So I want to take this off of my ugly mug and bring in everyone. Everybody knows, of course, our shotgun rider, if you will, from the great state of Texas, the tactical virus, Leprechaun himself. What's up, Clove? How you doing, man?
Hey, man. It's all good.
So once again, as Rob might not know, Clover's my shotgun rider, and we always do a shotgun of the week. Mm-hmm. So what is your shotgun of the week?
You know what? I ain't too proud to shield, so let's go Savage Renegades, right? Got to be,
so
right?
You got a chance to shoot that at range day, did you not?
I did. Not nearly as much as I would have liked to. I wish they would have let me take it over to the Winchester Browning booth where you could pretty much just shoot all day, because
they just had ammo sitting there for you, nice. Didn't they?
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe Savage needs to think about that next day.
Man, he's throwing you under the bus right off the bat.
Off the bat. It's a little easier if you have an ammo company that has your name and a gun company that has your name.
Well, you've got Winchester and Browning both in the same house, right? And both both produce ammo, so it makes sense. So Savage just needs to buy an ammo company. That's that simple. I mean, come on.
2 years ago, that would have been a great idea.
Ooh, can you imagine now? Wow.
Right.
2020 hindsight, right? 2020 hindsight. Wow. Yeah.
But from what I got to play with, it was it was a nice shotgun. I'm sure we'll move into it, maybe talk about it a little later on, but it seems to be maybe their foray kind of moving into the competition market a little more seriously. And so glad to see more options available out there for that type of thing, for sure.
A couple new models that we just launched on that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that for sure. Now, Calaveras wants to know if King Fudd over there, were there any shotguns that you didn't shoot?
Good question. You know what? Sorry, I got a catch in my throat. I don't think I shot any of the Browning shotguns.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
I don't think I touched a single Browning, and there was a few from Rock Island I didn't shoot. I wasn't interested in their trench gun. It's cool, but wasn't interested in it. And there was a Turkish company there that I can't remember the name. It's not anyone that I've on my radar that I've worked with. and I can't remember what it is. It's like 3 letters. If anybody out there knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, I didn't shoot any there. So no, I did not shoot them all. The answer is no.
Well, TJ says you were over there a while, and yes, you were over there
I
a while.
was, but I was shooting other things more than once. Is what it was.
There you go. All right. Enough of that. We have a special guest tonight. We have Rob Gates from Savage, which we are really excited about to talk about a lot of different models and a lot of different platforms that you don't maybe hear about Savage, especially with the stance coming. And we're going to talk the stance, the impulse, the renegade. So out there in the chat, if you have questions for Rob or any of us, tag myself or Clover, and we'll make sure we get those questions asked. Understand there might be questions as we go along that Rob is not able to answer with corporate stuff or whatever, that maybe things are not released yet. So understand there might be some things that come along that we can't touch on. That being said, if you have those questions, email me or something. Everyone knows my email. It's in the description, and I'll make sure I get those passed along. And when the time is right, maybe those questions can get answered. But if you've got questions on their stuff, absolutely put them out there, because that's what we're here for. We're trying to get you guys direct links to the companies to find out more about the products. So as we say that, we bring in Rob Gates from Savage. And Rob, thanks for coming on. I want to give you a few minutes to kind of tell people maybe some of your background. By the way, probably the best background that we've had any guest. I want to say there's probably going to be a lot of talk about the antlers and all of that. And the mule deer is beautiful, and I know that there's a story behind that as well. There's one that's not there. But if you want to take a few minutes to kind of tell people who you are, and then maybe some of the history about Savage that people may not know.
Sure. So, this would have been my 30-second SHOT Show for those that, it was my 30-second SHOT Show. I was at range day because of COVID. We had some issues at the show. So I've been around a long time. I will say, caveat that I'm in my early 50s. So I did my first SHOT Show at 18 years old.
Nice.
So been in the gun business a long time. Glock, Smith & Wesson, and then Uncle Mike's, and been on the accessory side with Surefire, and spent a long time with Vista Outdoors, which used to be ATK, and then moved over to Savage. And then in 2018, Vista Outdoor sold Savage, and management led team of a management-led group of investors purchased Savage, and we're 4 years plus into that change, and it's been really great. It was good to be a part of Vista, and back as a privately held company is a little bit nicer than a publicly traded company. And last year was our 125th anniversary, so Savage has been around a long time, and we continue to push for innovation, and I don't want to say change the dynamic of what most gun owners think of Savage. We hear this all the time, and it drives me nuts. Savage is the best gun for your money, or affordable accuracy. No, it's just the best gun. It's just the best gun. And it just happens. Some of our guns happen to be at a good price point. So go ahead.
Well, there's a lot to be said about that. A lot of people do equate top of the line, best quality with a $10,000 price tag for a long range precision rifle. The great thing about your company is you bring great quality, like you said, for a price that the average person, not just the very wealthy people, can enjoy. So there's a lot to be said about that. I want to talk a little bit about the stance. We'll go into that, but real quick, I guess we can start with the impulse. We got a question out there, and I know with the straight pull action, that's something that it's not new, but it's something that you guys haven't brought into the table for a long time. But Calaveras out there, he's out in California. He said, what is the strength of the impulse action compared to a Mauser action? And I think he's really kind of talking about the bolt kind of coming back to the shooter's face for those that maybe are not quite used to that straight pull action.
Sure. And I'm not an engineer, so getting into the in-depth technical parts of this is not my area of expertise. But There's 13 different patents on that action for impulse. We proved the design. The first gun we ever built was 338 Lapua. So that was the standard. And then we were able to bring that action down into other calibers very easily. But we proved the safety and the functionality with 338 Lapua to make sure that it was done right. The action itself, it's 100 years old. The lockup with the ball bearings and things like that, we just improved on it, and we're able to get those 13 different patents to make that gun what it is today. And it has, we knew we would have some good interest in Europe and Australia in that gun, but the interest in the U.S. far outpaced anything that we could have ever thought of, forecasted for. It's been pretty crazy.
I'm going to bring Clover here in a second because I think he's a fan of the straight pull action. But before we do, I want to highlight, thank you to Mandatory Care, their $5 super chat. You guys know that we're not asking, nor do we encourage super chats, but if you do send one out, all of that money, as you guys know, goes to sending care package to our troops overseas and downrange. So thank you for that Mandatory Carry. Talking about the straight pull, it is something that's been around a while, but it seems like the fad the last 20 or so years has just been the straight bolt action and all of that. Warsaw Patriot, he says when he thinks of Savage, he thinks of great accurate bolt action rifles that compete with the old 700 as far as budget and price and great quality. And I would say that's probably, I would imagine that's probably your demographic is
Sure.
The bolt action, whether it's hunting or precision competition. That's kind of your bread and butter, is it not?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as we get into some of these other platforms that we've launched and will continue to launch, we know what brought us to the table, and it's that bolt action rifle, and that is key. And we will continue to concentrate on innovation and the quality of those products before we step in any other one direction.
Absolutely. I want to bring Clover in. And Clover, I know that when we start talking about straight pull action, you and I were talking about that before shot and all that, because the straight pull is not something you're seeing these days. You have anything that you wanted to bring up with Rob on the straight pull with the impulse?
Well, straight pull is, it's sort of foreign, no pun intended, with the U.S. market, but internationally it's not. And so, Americans can be big babies sometimes with, I don't know if it's going to be as good. Well, it's been around, over 100 years. And, just because a bolt handle rotates and comes down doesn't mean that bolt's not going to come back in your face if something goes horribly wrong. I've seen instances where that's happened. So just because that comes straight back, people think that there aren't the mechanisms and other things there to stop it from doing that, the same as in any normal bolt action.
Absolutely. And the way the ball bearings are designed, that when that cartridge fires, they're actually pressed outward further into the locking groove to keep that bolt in the forward position. There's secondary and third safety mechanisms on the impulse also. And one thing people don't realize on the impulse is that it's a standard 110 barrel in that gun. So we've got an aluminum receiver with a barrel extension similar to like you'd have on an AR. And so our 110 barrel screws into the barrel extension. The bolt head is mated up just like a standard 110. So you get that ideal head space, and then it is locked into the receiver. The receiver's also, and this is a big miss on our part from a marketing standpoint, that the impulse action is multi-caliber. So you buy a 300 Win Mag today. As we catch up with production, 6, 8, 10 months down the road, you'll be able to buy a 223 kit or a 270 kit where you get a barrel, a bolt head, and a new magazine. Swap it out, and you've got a different caliber rifle.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I guess we can see on the impulse because that's where we're at right now. So when did the idea of bringing the straight pull to the market, was it something that you felt that there was a need in the market for, or was it something to be a little bit different than everybody else at this point? How did the evolution of the thought process before it even came out of, hey, let's maybe bring this straight pull back to the market here in the US?
So it started really in Europe. We're, I'll be proud to say we're the number one U.S. rifle brand in all of Europe, hands down. Uh, we sell a ton of rifles over there, and we get all of our distributors and our dealers and consumers have asked for a straight pull for years and years. So that kind of got the ball rolling, and then we launched the project, and Impulse came to be a couple of years later.
So I put the link out there, obviously, savagearms.com. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen real quick of the Impulse so that the viewers that might not have ever seen it before, but kind of share the website. So let's, the straight pull rifles. You've got the Impulse Big Game, which I think is one of the sexiest rifles. Just the design, the aesthetics of it. It is a beautiful rifle. And then you have the Hog Hunter, the Predator, and the Elite Precision. The differences of them for the average person who's wanting to know the difference of the four. Maybe you can go through the Big Game first and kind of give an idea of what that's all about.
Yeah, so that's a Cerakoted barreled action with a Kuiu camo stock, standard flush fit bottom magazine. It is threaded, so you can put a suppressor on it, and available in all your standard calibers. It does have the AccuFit stock system, so if you're not familiar, all of our 110s have a adjustable comb and length of pull built into the stock. All the pieces are in the box, 2 Phillips screws, and you can adjust that for your 10-year-old daughter up to yourself at 30, 40 years old, or 6 feet tall, 6'6".
And something you were talking about earlier, it's the 110 barrel. So people that are accustomed to the feel of their 110, they jump into the straight pull. They're not necessarily jumping into a brand new feel, a brand new rifle. There's still a lot of the old 110 that they're going to be comfortable with. Is that correct?
Absolutely. This Impulse with our 110 barrel on it. I took my team up to K&N in Finger, Tennessee, and the instructors up there doing a long range rifle class. Even those instructors were just amazed. 300 short mag, consistently sub MOA groups at 1,400 yards without any issue.
Absolutely. They're talking about it. It's a beautiful game. It is. When I first saw the Big Game, I was like, that, I mean, to me, that is a gorgeous rifle. Clover, you want to talk about when you made a shot at the showcase? I know you've had a little bit of experience with this one, correct?
Yeah, it amazed me. I'm not real sure which one. I think it might have been the Big Game version, but it was in 6.5 Creed. I do remember that, and so very familiar feel. I love my Model 10, so very familiar feel, except for working the action, of course. And I got a sub half MOA group out of that.
I didn't want to go there, but
first time
You'll let someone else go there.
Well, I did. Now, can I do that ever again? I couldn't tell you. I've only done it once, and so but I did. First time shooting it right there, and I fancy myself as a decent shooter, but yeah, it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, they are. The Impulse Predator there has got the AICS magazine, so similar. They're all similar, but just a little bit different.
Right.
There, different camo, a couple different caliber setups there. Still has the AccuRail.
I got a 22-250 in this. Okay,
Yeah. So you got the 10-round magazine with the AICS there, and they all just flat shoot. And what's cool about it is it's different. It takes somebody 10, 12 manipulations of the Impulse bolt, if you've never shot a straight pull, to get used to that. You're used to coming up off the gun, raising your cheek, typically racking the bolt up, back, forward, down. This, you stay on the gun, and it's all right here. The bolt handle is adjustable into 4 different positions without a tool. And the cool thing about the bolt handle is you can reverse it to the left-hand side. We've got some Impulse shooters that are playing with the gun, right-handed shooters, but operating the bolt with their left hand, never coming off of their right hand grip.
That's a great point and great idea, because especially maybe in competition, especially when they're trying to get multiple hits on a target. And like you said, with that straight pull, they can stay on the gun, but if they're doing their left hand, now their trigger finger or their trigger hand is not leaving and having to regrip and all that. It's staying there. You're working the bolt with the left hand. That's phenomenal. And for someone who's just getting into long range precision, we're talking about matters of half seconds. That could be a big deal between getting that extra. If you're getting close to getting that extra round before the time goes off, that could be a big deal. So you got the Predator, the Hog Hunter, the Big Gamer, mostly more of the hunting rifle side.
Guns.
The Impulse Elite Precision is a step up, I'm assuming, towards your precision competition rifle. Is that what that's kind of geared for?
It is. It's it basically takes a heavy stainless barrel with the impulse action, puts it in a MDT chassis, and it's a beautiful piece of work for that entry level to mid level PRS type shooter. Now we've got some pros shooting these guns for sure, and they will shoot beautifully at all levels. But it is a cost effective way to get into PRS, and with the impulse be a game changer, because it is different. It is quicker for sure.
Well, you're talking about a next level quality precision rifle, and being with PRS, and that's kind of what I shoot around here. If you would have seen that production model level, it's got to be under 2,500. So you're allowing them to get this rifle that's probably a $4,000 or $5,000 rifle under that $2,500, which is going to allow them to maybe stay in that production level, which I think is huge for people starting out. That's what I'm shooting. I'm shooting production level the first couple of years just to kind of get my feet wet. But obviously with Savage, you'll be having to be able to upgrade later on down the line with maybe some heavier barrels or some different whatever to do that. But having a great rifle in that production level is great for the average person.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great platform to build off of, just like you said.
Well, what Rob said too, though, talking about being able to use the Model 10 barrels. Man, there's a ton of aftermarket high end, whichever way you want to go, options with that too, right? So, that's what's neat about that. You can take that and build it out if you wanted to, build it out however you wanted.
Yeah, one of the top bolt action rifles over the last 2 years is sold in the U.S. is our 110 ultralight. So that's our standard bolt action 110, blueprinted action, melanite coated receiver with a proof research, carbon fiber wrapped stainless barrel, Accu trigger, Accu stock, or Accu fit, and it's a sub 6 pound gun. It's a hunting gun. So Proof makes 110 barrels already that you may or may not see in this impulse action sometime in 2022.
Just saying.
Yeah, just saying.
Clove, you got anything out there about the impulse that we need to bring up before we move on to the stance, or do you have any questions yourself?
No, I think I didn't know about the adjustable positions on the bolt handle. That was actually something.
That's awesome.
New.
Yeah, and it's also threaded. So I mean, I've got some carbon fiber bolt knobs right here that you can just unscrew ours and put in whatever size shape. It's a 1/4 20, I believe the thread pattern is. So there's tons of different bolt knobs out there.
Yeah, and that's all. Like I said, that for me is exciting because it sounds weird. I was talking with someone about a folding, pistol brace or stock for an AR, and I said, most of them fold for right-handers this way. Well, if you're going to be running a CQB or something, be able to keep your hand in that near that firing group and be able to flip that with your left hand is cool. Same thing. This is allowing you to stay on the gun, stay on the sight, stay on everything else while manipulating with your left hand. It might take a little bit for people to get used to because that's not something that they've done before. But I think when they get done with that, they're probably going, "Hell, this is awesome,"
Yeah. Yeah. There's some solid military type individuals that at times have shot left-handed bolt action rifles in their roles. And this is a right-hand eject, but you can move it to the left hand and practice with it that way. And it's really quick, really quick.
Yeah. Tactical Fun out there says, what's the barrel length on the Elite? Do you know that? I could go back to the website, I guess, but
yeah, I want to say, depending on caliber, it's 24, 26, depending on caliber.
28, somewhere in there. Yeah. It's kind of like most of them, sure. Yeah. Yeah, because I think mine on 6.5 Creed, I'm running a 28, and it's kind of one of those things where if you're trying to get a cartridge that's going to push out, obviously a longer barrel, but a lot of people are still running 270, 223 that are going to be running that 24 to 26 inch as well. So yeah, it's nice to know that you have options with the barrel length as well.
Yeah, we're doing a number of different guns and actually building our new Carbon Predator is a proof research barrel that we just launched, and most of the calibers are 18-inch barrels threaded because a lot of those Predator guys are shooting suppressed. And just to make the gun a little bit more maneuverable, we're shortening that barrel down quite a bit.
Absolutely, yeah. Calaveras, I think he's new to the straight pull game, so he's got a question. Can you talk about the strength of action for safety purposes?
Sure. So, like I said, we tested and designed the impulse action around 338 Lapua. That was the highest cartridge that we felt comfortable in this action that we currently built. We build 338 Lapuas in our 110 line right now, or 2 years ago we did. So it was an easy, top line, baseline to make sure this action is safe. And like I said earlier, the ball bearings on the front end, when that cartridge fires, they lock into the groove even harder than they are prior to firing. There's another safety mechanism in the back with a blockade that you got to manipulate to get the gun or get the bolt even to come rearward. So there's a number of safety devices built into the gun, 13 different patents.
Yeah, he said he had to walk away for a work call, so he missed that the first time. So I just want to give him an opportunity to hear it from you and not from me, because for me, I might mess something up. Travis P11, our buddy out there, he's in Nebraska. He said, just got home from work. Quick question. Straight pull impulse is very hard to find in the store. Will production be ramping up on these? He wants one.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, we missed the boat. We figured we'd sell, this many impulse guns on an annual basis. So we invested that much money in machinery and new staff and an area of the plant to build these things, and we missed it. We just flat missed it. And so we have invested more money in impulse, and we've got new machinery that have been coming online the last 2 or 3 months. So you'll see we made twice as many in January than we did in November. So the pace is building, and you'll start to see them more readily available out there over the next couple of months.
I guess that's a good problem to have, is you sold a lot more than you anticipated. Darn it.
Yeah. Well, and what's crazy is, this all went about during this surge, during this gun surge that we've all been experiencing the last 2 years. And so, we're looking at each other, my product manager and I, and we're like, how many of these are we going to sell? And we're, sometimes it's throwing a dart and guessing it. And what we sold with impulse within days after we launched is true demand, because nobody knew about it. Nobody has any history or, prior sales or dealers to base their purchases on. So they just ordered like it was a brand new product, and we missed the boat. So, but we're getting there. You'll see a bunch more guns over the next couple of months.
Well, and it probably, hasn't been the easiest with supply chain issues. It's going across the world right now. There's literally boats sitting out there in the ocean sometimes that can't get to port that might have a part that you need. It just might be one little part, but you can't make something without that one part, or whatever the case may be. So I think it's one of those things where it's a good problem to have, but be patient. There will be a lot more coming. Travis says he's seen a few over on Gun Broker, but won't pay 200 more than over SRP. And that's just, people know what they have right now. That's just that's the way it is. That's unfortunately that's supply and demand right now. But he said he'll definitely wait because he definitely wants one.
Just
Clove,
give it a
anything
little
else?
time.
Yeah, Clove, anything else before we move over to the stance?
Now let's go.
All right. So the stance, something I have my hands on it at range day. Love this gun. More importantly, I love the idea that Savage, a lot of people think that this is Savage's first handgun. Now, it's been about 100 years, but this is not your guy's first endeavor in a handgun. Before we go into specs and all of that, can you talk about the process of when the idea of bringing a new handgun to the market really started taking place?
Yeah, sure. So, I mentioned earlier we were sold by Vista in 2018, and one of the first things that we started talking about with our customers and some of our consumer focus groups and things like that is that we wanted to be a full-fledged firearms manufacturer. We wanted to participate in every category. At that time, we were participating in less than 40% with our bolt action and rimfire. We weren't in handguns. We weren't in semi-auto shotguns. So we started the planning back then in 2018, and Stance is the first entry into the handgun market. It is not the last. There will be more. I won't go into what you'll see, but over the next several years, Savage will be a player in the handgun category.
Yeah, so you've got a couple different models. Obviously, you've got the manual safety model, manual safety with night sights, the FDE, and you got the gray. I want to say the one that I shot was FDE, but they're all basically the same gun. But I'm a big fan of FDE. That's just me. I'm kind of more of a FDE guy. But you got one with is that a Crimson Trace laser attached? I don't know if it's Crimson Trace or not.
That one, it's a Viridian
laser. Okay.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
But yeah, and what I'm loving about this is we're also looking at these MSRP prices. You're talking about a phenomenally shooting gun for a price that isn't going to really make people balk and all that. So I'm going to give you a few minutes. I want to kind of just maybe click on this one, just kind of give an idea of the features and all of that. But if you've got we'll talk a few minutes about the stance and some of the features for people that haven't seen or heard about it yet.
Sure. So I'll start with, you mentioned range day at the day before SHOT Show kicked off. We had 3 stance pistols sitting on the table. We were there for about, 9 hours. We had over 200 shooters come through the line, shooting anywhere between 6 and 8, 10, 12 rounds, couple magazines.
Yep. So
well over 2,000 rounds through 3 guns by 200 different shooters, men, women, big guys, little guys. Not a single malfunction, not one at all.
That's
and
awesome.
20 years in the pistol business between Glock and Smith & Wesson, and been around a little bit. That was a really nice. We didn't even realize it until the end of the day, and we started talking about it. So the gun just flat works. But going into a particular model, today Stance is one general gun. It's one general pistol. We're offering night sight versions with True Glow. You mentioned the laser model, so that's a Viridian model. We have manual safety and no manual safety. We have black, flat, dark earth, and gray, so it'll cross over manual safety to all the different colors, night sight with all the colors. So if you look at our SKU list to start, it's a big long list, but it's all
it is
pretty close to being the same gun, just what features and color you would like. We also have one SKU that is a 7-round, so a flat flush fit magazine, and an 8-round magazine single stack. And then we also have SKUs that are 7-round flush fit and a 10-round with an extension on it. Gives you that more of a Glock 19 size type gun for range use. So kind of a concealed carry with the 7-round. 10-round is the range use.
And that's one of the things I put out a video from range day, a quick little 30-second me just shooting it. And some of the comments that I were getting is, man, I wish they had more than an 8+1 capacity, because that's the one that I shot was an 8+1. And talking to the guys there at range day, it's like, oh, there's a 10+1. And I think that for some reason, and I don't know why, because in Clover, feel free to jump in on this as well. But, you know, if you're talking about a self-defense, hopefully you don't have to shoot more than 3 rounds. But a lot of people get caught up on it's not really a viable option until it's 10+1. Whatever that is, maybe that's for that person, but having the option at 10+1 for the people that want to have that extra capacity, go for it. I carried a shield for years that was an 8+1. First of all, I never had to use it. Second of all, I never felt like I was giving myself a disadvantage because I only had 8 rounds in the mag. So it is what it is. Now, Travis wants to be difficult out there. He says you need one in OD green. I tend to agree with that. I think an OD green slide on the FDE grip or vice versa. No, that would be pretty darn cool. Just saying. So I guess I could probably do the Cerakote myself if I needed to.
Yeah. Give me time. Give us time. Okay. We'll have a bunch of different color combinations.
I bet.
You know, we're doing a lot of our long guns with Cerakote, and you know, we had to get some product launched. We've had this gun done and designed for many months back into 2021. And you know, 8+1 in a concealed carry gun was pretty acceptable until
that was what everything was.
That's what it was
or less sometimes.
Right. Until the max guns and the pluses and things like that. Yeah. But like I said, you know, this is our first foray into the pistol market. It's not our last. The cool thing about Stance, like call it maybe the SIG 365, it is an internal chassis. So that is the serialized part of the gun. The grip is a module, and we will be able to sell colors, shapes, sizes, Picatinny rail, whatever whatever we can come up with and think of as a separate item on the web store through our dealer network.
Okay, so random question from the chat. I'm just going to throw this out there. Guns and Barbecue says, I know we're talking about the new Savage firearms, but he has an 1899 Savage and 300 Savage. Was bought new by great-great-grandpa in 1920, maybe 21, still drops a deer every year. So that's awesome to hear that we're talking about a 100-year-old rifle that is still being put in use and is still effective on an 1899 design, still viable today. So that's pretty cool. I thought you might want to hear about that.
Yeah, the Model 99, the forerunner to that gun, came later, whatever, precursor, forerunner, one of those. That's our number one requested new product. We got to bring back the 99. So it's a cool gun.
Maybe that's something that could happen. Maybe a new retro look, type thing. That would be kind of cool. A lot of car companies are doing that. We're taking old designs of cars and making them modern. That would be kind of cool, I think. Maybe down the line. That would be a really interesting idea.
Modern manufacturing techniques are pretty amazing today. So
yeah, you can make it look like the old 99, but everything inside is being modern technology and all of that, which would be kind of cool. Calaveras out there in California says, is the Stance going to be available in California maybe down the road? How about, I know getting on the roster out there it's a nightmare in itself, but is that something you're thinking about?
We have kicked that project off. So we are in that process, and it is definitely something that we want to do. We just got to go through the process, and that takes some time.
Yeah, that's kind of more lawyer stuff at that point, is it not?
Absolutely. It's a nightmare.
C4 Defense, our buddy Sarge out there, he was at shot as well, but he said 3 to 5 rounds in 3 to 5 seconds from 3 to 5 yards. Some people think he's also a law enforcement officer. He says some people think that they're going to be involved in some mythical gunfight. Yeah, it's not going to be the OK Corral, guys. You're not going to need to if you're having to reload in that self-defense situation, probably just saying something's gone terribly wrong. Let's just be real about it.
Go the other direction.
Before we move on, I got some more questions about the stance. Clove, what about you? Think anything out there, or do you have any questions about the stance?
No, I was going to comment. On the capacity thing. So for me,
Yeah.
I'm totally okay with the 6-shot revolver or 5-shot revolver for that matter. And so the difference between 8 and 10 is absolutely nominal for me. The biggest issue I have, whether it be a 5-shot revolver, pocket revolver or a pocket handgun or anything of that nature, smaller frame. I don't like my pinky hanging in the air. That's my biggest thing. So for me, I'll add extensions a lot of times, but it's not for necessarily adding extensions for added capacity. I don't particularly care for that, but I like to get the full purchase on the grip. It's better control for me. I'm just more comfortable that way. And, I don't know how other people feel about that, but that's the way I am.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Trey, you mentioned a shield. I've been carrying a shield for years and years and years since it came out, really, until I switched over to the stance and started shooting it and training with it. So, it is what it is. I carried a J-frame revolver with Backmeyer grips for years and years prior to the shield. And you go from 5 to 8+1. You've got quite a few rounds there.
Yeah, and I don't have big hands. I'm not a big guy. Typically, ironically, though, I usually, and first of all, I want to talk about this, is there are interchangeable back straps. And for me, it's one of those things, I have smaller hands, but I like usually putting the larger back straps. For some reason, the large back straps on most guns feel better in my hand. But when I shoot in the stance, I didn't feel anything that was, I don't remember thinking, oh, that felt bad. I remember everything feeling good. So if you're out there and you're worried about that, it's just one of those things where when you're talking about an 8+1 firearm, you kind of know going into it what it's going to probably feel like. So it is what it is.
Just real quick on that. This is comes with 2 interchangeable back straps. So similar to your full size pistols, you've got a kind of a small and a large interchangeable back strap in there. The grip angle's 18 degrees. One of the big gun companies several years ago spent $200,000 measuring people's hands and shootability and grip angles and bore axis, and spent all this money, and they came up with 18 degrees. And it's pretty amazing that in 1911, John Browning figured that out without spending a nickel. And so we went with that 18 degree grip angle. It just points well. You pick it up. That bore axis is low. Sights are level whenever you bring the gun up to where you need it.
Yeah, some companies seem to like the 20 or 21 degree grip angle. A lot of people don't like that. Matter of fact, I think Clover had someone on a podcast a week or so ago, and actual grip, which usually doesn't come up in podcasts, but grip angle actually was a question that came up about a firearm. So there are people that are looking for that 18 degree that might be the 1911 fan, that may not be a Glock fan with their 20, 21 degree grip angles or whatever. So the interesting thing is you guys actually thought about grip angle, which a lot of people don't. So I know, Clover, you had a question about grip angle, which I thought was, you don't hear that question come up very often,
Yeah. I don't even know I'm gonna hit a YouTube video, I guess, to figure out. I don't even know how you measure grip angle outside of CAD software and all that.
Is it from the trigger guard to the grip, the front of the grip, I guess? Or?
Center line of magazine or grip, and center line of bore. And it's that angle there.
Okay.
Swing it. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good question, because I actually hadn't. I mean, I've never really
a 90. So a 90 degree is 0. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that'd be 0.
Yeah.
Technically, and then 18 means it kicks out. Okay, I got you.
Yep. The other thing, real quick on stance, for a combat concealed carry gun, you've got ambidextrous controls. So right and left hand magazine release and slide stop levers. Not that you're going to use that to let that slide go forward typically, but they are there. So it's all ambi controls.
Absolutely. There's a couple questions up here. Some of them are funny, so just bear with me a little bit. First of all, Calaveras was like to think that there's a chance being in California. He's like, so they're saying there's a chance. There is a chance that you might see the stance eventually in California, which is a great thing. Now, G23 out there, being a Glock 23 fan, you might suspect this, but wants to know if it's going to be available in 40 or 10 millimeter down the road or any handguns. I don't know if you can answer that right now or not, but I thought I'd throw it out there.
Well, not this gun. Let's not go there. Not this gun. You know, we're looking at a couple.
Although a 10 millimeter in the frame size of the stance would be interesting.
I'm surprised nobody has asked about 30 Super Carry.
Well, I was going to do that.
Yeah, that's an interesting caliber, and you know, we were brothers with the federal guys as part of Vista, and it's interesting. It's interesting caliber. Recoil's pretty good. I personally have not shot it, but it may be something that we look at.
Right. Our good buddy out there, Midnight Range TM. He's a chef up in the Northeast. Great guy. Great sense of humor. He says, where do we put our address in for the free sample of the stance? I'm going to say to email it to shootingleftofcenter@gmail.com. I think Yankee can handle that for you. So, yeah, he's being funny out there. Let's see here. There's something else that I saw that I wanted to, yeah, G23 was like, hey, you read my mind. Apparently he was going to be one of the people that asked about grip angle. I don't know where the whole grip angle discussion started getting heated up again. I think it's hilarious, but it is something that's out there apparently.
Yeah, it is.
Let's see here. And I put the link out there to you guys, and I think we're caught up. So Dennis Hafer, I'm sorry if I butchered the last name. Dennis Hafer wants to know, once again, we've gone down this rabbit hole of grip angle, but he wants to know, would 21 or 23 degree give you more control of the muzzle going up when firing? You can say technically there are benefits of every angle. Ultimately, it comes down to not necessarily being muzzle control is not necessarily the end all be all in grip angle. It's making sure that you're actually in a good position to when you're sighted in. And Rob, you can kind of explain this a bit more, but my idea of grip angle is not recoil management. It's more of making sure that everything's in line, proper line for your sight alignment and all that to get a quality, accurate shot off. Is that exactly more or less what the grip angle's for?
Yeah, it is. And what you'll see is with those steeper grip angles, you'll see, I don't know if you can see this in video, but you'll see people, especially when you ask them to close their eyes, put the gun in their hand, bring it forward, you'll see those steeper grip angles roll their wrists forward and down because that front sight sits higher. An 18 degree grip angle is a little bit more natural point of aim than those steeper angles. But muzzle control, there's so much or recoil control, so much that goes into that from ammunition and barrel length and hand size and structure and arm strengths and
physical strength. Exactly. I mean, it's what it is. You know,
it is. Yeah.
I think probably for me, and Clover, you can feel like just jump on in here because you talk about this a lot with your stuff. But for me, barrel length. You know, obviously a 5-inch barrel that might be on a heavier gun is going to have better muzzle and recoil control than a 4-inch barrel. That's not what it's there for. So yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
An optimal grip angle according to weight as well, right? Because if you've got a lot of weight out on the muzzle end, longer barrel or something like that, you know, a little bit different grip angle could help that line up a little bit better. You know, but then you look at a lot of the competition, especially precision competitions. Look at some of the crazy grip angles you got because of the really deep cuts in them, right?
Yeah.
And that's for the palm swell. That's for all of that, and that's for, you know, again, that's for that style of a handgun or whatever, and the positions, right? The no pun intended, the stance you're using and the position and everything. That's for all of that, and that's for you know.
Whoa, sorry. I got a little feedback on the YouTube side, apparently. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, he must have gone on mute.
No, that's it.
No, but
Yeah.
he's
I think
he's
that
right.
was on my side. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead,
Okay.
Rob.
No, I was just gonna reiterate that there's some other custom guns for 22, pistols that have those big huge cuts and the grip angle steeper than 22, but it's how you shoot the gun and the stance that you use to compete in that realm.
Yeah, there's so many variables, and I think that it's a great question. Don't get me wrong out there, Dennis. Especially for someone that might be listening to this that are completely new, they might even know there's different grip angles and what causes certain things to happen when you fire a gun. They just think everything's the same. So, great question. But yeah, there are so many variables that are going to help. There's all this gun doesn't cycle all the way. Well, if you're limp wristing it, it has nothing to do with the gun. I mean, there's so many things that go into the operation and functionality of a firearm that isn't just grip angles and all of that. There's so many things that we could go on for hours, which we're not going to do. I do think this is a pretty funny one. Guns and Barbecue out there says, I feel like we're going to ask Savage to make a big gun and then perhaps a revolver in 300 Savage, please. Can you imagine that? I think Clover would like that, I think.
Yeah, bring it.
Yeah. We did launch 2 handguns recently. So you see stance here and it's 9mm and all the different configurations. We also launched the 110 PCS, which is the 110 pistol chassis system. So it's a 10.5-inch bolt action pistol in an MDT chassis, left-hand bolt, right-hand eject. So you don't know if it's a hunting gun, but you don't have to take your hand off the grip to manipulate the bolt. So we did launch not in 300 Savage, but we did do it in Blackout.
There you go.
Blackout.
Yes, I've got it up there. I've got this. So that's a really sharp looking pistol.
Oh, it's cool. We put a little bipod on that. We were dinging steel at 900 yards with a 10.5-inch barrel. It was crazy.
That's awesome.
So for those that may do some Google foo or whatever, or may remember seeing Savage on an old school, we're talking later part of the 1800s revolver, that is a different Savage, by the way. Not the same Savage. So just want to throw that out there since we're talking revolver.
Yep. Roll call says, just stopped in. Will it come with night sights? Are they changeable? And so he wasn't here. I was when we were talking about. Yes, I'll put the link out there again.
Glock 43 style sights, so you can change them to any Glock 43 sight, and we're building guns with True Glow night sights.
Yeah, so they're going to come with True Glow night sights. There is the Viridian laser if you are interested in the laser. There's a lot of different SKUs out there. Roll call on that link I just put out there in the chat. A lot of different SKUs, a lot of different models of the stance with or without night sights, with or without laser. All of that stuff, multiple color configurations as well. So absolutely.
Hey Trey, question for you. You shot the stance range day. One of the comments that we've gotten through consumers that have shot the gun is that stippling that we've put 360 degrees around the grip. It's robust. It's not too much in my opinion, but what did you think of that?
I actually liked it. I really did. I remember asking and I don't remember his name. I have probably have a business card at work. I remember asking him the design of the stippling kind of looks like a football. I don't know if you've gotten that response before, but before I held it, I looked at it and said, it looks like football lacing, and I was like, that's interesting. I was like, that's interesting. But no, when I picked it up, I do remember it being a fairly strong stippling, but I personally I don't like too aggressive, but I usually put Talon grips on a lot of my handguns because I like that it actually a little bit more aggressive than what's on it. So I liked it personally. But it wasn't anything that's going to hurt or cut or anything like that. I like an aggressive stippling, so it felt great to me. The only question I had, the guy, it was pure aesthetics. I was like, hey, that kind of looks like football lacing. And the guy's like, yeah, I have no idea. So I caught him off guard maybe. But no, I like the feel of it a lot. And like I said, for my hands, I enjoyed shooting it. He let me shoot a couple mags through it. And I probably got maybe 12 shots through it, 12, 14 shots, something like that. I loved it. I really felt good to me, but I'm a big CCW gun guy. So I'm not a big full size. If I had a choice of a 4-inch or a 5-inch gun, I'm going 4-inch. That's just how I like the way they feel. I like the way they shoot in general. So no, I love the feel of it. And it was one of those things. I was one of those, by the way, Rob, that thought this was your first handgun. I was corrected at range day. It says, well, it's been 100 years. I think it was like 1920 or 21. I mean, it was like, it's been 100 years, but we actually did. So I was one of those people that wasn't aware that you guys had handguns in the past.
Yeah, it was, there were six different companies that submitted product for the U.S. Army back in the early 1900s. The finalists were Colt and Savage, and Colt ended up winning that contract, and there goes the 1911. But I mean,
if you're gonna lose out to something, okay, it's won a couple wars.
So this is our re-entry into handguns, not a entry, even though it's.
And I wasn't aware of that. I know Clover was aware of that because he actually corrected me at range day as well. He was actually, they had one about 100 years ago. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that.
1905 and introduced in 1907 as the model 1907.
1907, yeah.
Mine's in 32 ACP and still a pretty decent shooting little handgun for what it is.
No, that could be something. Hey, just throwing it out there. A reboot of the 1907 design with modern technology. Now, I think if people want the 1907, it's what it is. Yeah.
Maybe if you did the 1907 in 30 super carry, maybe.
There you go.
But no, I don't think anybody would. It's not aesthetically pleased. For me, I'm into that sort of thing, right? And so to me, it's awesome. But you want to talk about grip angle? There ain't none, right? It's dang near 90 degree. It's there's no stippling, there's no beauty. It's just there's just a barrel hanging out the front. It's not. There's no beauty to it at all, except for in the history. That's where the beauty comes into play.
Yeah, I can just see walking into a gun dealer and let me see your 9mm concealed carry handguns, and here's this sea of black and flat dark earth and stainless barrels. And here's this it's new, but it's not. Yeah.
Right.
I bet you people would start talking about it, though. There would be some discussions on it for sure. Our good buddy TJ out there, he writes with Clover and I as well, but he writes for Gear Report, and he said that he liked the feel. And remember, TJ's like 6'4", big dude, big basketball player, and all that. And for someone that's not 5'8", he says he liked it as well, small and grippy. So for someone that's 6'3", 6'4", obviously you're running between a 5'8" and 6'4" guy, and they're both saying it felt pretty good. You've probably done something right.
Yeah, we worked hard on that stippling and really looked at every touch point where your hand's going to interact with the gun and made sure there was some purchase there. And it really helps with that follow-up shot and multiple shots so that gun's not bouncing around, moving in your hand.
Yeah, I'm one of the people now. I'll shoot it when competition shooting. I'll shoot from reset for obvious reasons. For the defensive situation, it's what you're probably not even going to be thinking about shooting from reset. But I remember the reset being very loud and audible, which I like. I like an audible reset on a trigger, whether you use it or not. It's there. So for someone that looks for that kind of weird thing in guns, it checked all the boxes for me as well.
Yeah, it's about a 7.5 pound trigger pull on this, and it is a concealed carry gun, not necessarily a target gun. So it's not going to have a 3.5 pound lightweight trigger pull on it, but it's also not a 12 pound on a J frame revolver either.
Yeah, or a 12-pound on some semi-automatics that I've had my hands on, which is kind of scary as well. So there's that. Just saying.
Yeah.
It is everything about it felt good. And once again, you said you went through well over 2,000 rounds at range day without a single malfunction. And on top of that, people don't realize you're in a desert where it's windy. There's a lot of dust, a lot of dirt flying around, which could very easily cause a malfunction at range day. So I never had any problem, obviously, but
No,
I never heard of
and
anyone having any problems either.
To me, it wasn't so much the round count. I mean, that was interesting. It was purely the number of shooters.
Yeah,
And
200,
literally,
200.
yeah, a little over 200 shooters, and no joke, we had a number of shooters, at least a dozen, come through that had never shot a handgun before. So we
Yeah.
started this is media day, and I don't know what they're doing there, but there you go. That's the world we live in at SHOT Show these days. But
Yeah.
we're instructing people on how to hold, grip, manipulate, load, everything from start to finish there at range day, and to have that many people shoot the gun without a malfunction was really, really interesting and cool all by itself.
So we had a poll going through the show out there on the YouTube side, a live poll. And I simply asked, what Savage product interests you the most? Your choices were the Stance, the Impulse, or the Renegade. And probably no surprise to you, 46% said the Stance, 35% said the Impulse, 17 said the Renegade. And I know that we touched on the Renegades very briefly, but before we get out of here, I don't want to keep you too long because you're on the East Coast. But before we get out of here, maybe I think Clover might even actually have some, he's probably more of the shotgun guy than I am. He'd probably ask you better questions. But do you want to touch on the Renegades real quick as well?
Sure. So I mentioned in the beginning that, prior to our departure from Vista Outdoors, we participated in less than 40% of the market. There's $3.5 billion in normal market conditions on the handgun side. There's a big chunk on the semi-auto shotgun side. Very, very few U.S. guns built. I think there's probably 2 of them today, especially on the semi-auto side. And so, we looked at that as a market segment that we didn't participate in that was highly competitive. There's some Italians, there's a bunch of Turkish guns, but this is a U.S. made shotgun built in Westfield, Massachusetts. Number of different configurations. It's got our AccuFit system, so it comes with length of pull and comb adjustments there. You can see in the back. Of course, I work for Savage, and I love this gun. It is without a doubt, in my opinion, the softest shooting 12 gauge out there. It's not the lightest either, but it really shoots nice. I shot it last year, this time of year, maybe a couple weeks back last year on a snow goose hunt. Just hammering snow geese. We fluted the barrel, so it's the only production shotgun that's got a fluted barrel. Really helps the gun swing nicely from shot to shot. Helps in cooling also when you're hammering snow geese. The extra surface area helps cool the barrel down a little bit. But just a really nice, well-built, solid gas gun. Hard chrome internals, melanite coated, and then of course we're doing the camo for waterfowl and turkey.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got waterfowl, you got a lot of turkey ones, you got some security or law enforcement type stuff. The prairie, that's a really good looking one. The field, this competition one though, that's sick. That is a really attractive shotgun coming from a guy who has shotguns and all that, but is not really a shotgun guy. Really attractive shotguns. There are people out there that will buy guns purely on aesthetics, and you are giving them many, many opportunities to like different things. I'm going to kind of turn this over to Clover for a few seconds. Do you have any 1 or 2 questions about, you would probably know what better questions to ask about shotguns than I would. So do you have anything on that you would like?
Yeah, I mean, with the different ones there, I mean, you obviously you cover the spectrum, same same action, same basic design, that's of course common. As far as accessories included in the box to properly fit those, is there anything like that going on?
Yeah, it's got multiple comb height adjustments and length of pull adjustments in the box. Also, some camber and cast for left, right, where that buttstock meets the back of the receiver, so you can adjust it one way or another for, if you're shooting trap, skeet, those types of disciplines.
Right. Cool.
Goes and Barbecue said that he got Dominioned on his vote. Some of his favorites are some of the Savage doubles. So he likes the. I think he's going to like. Well, there's a lot of stuff that people are going to like from Savage. They always do, but I think it's awesome that the handgun's coming back in. I think that's going to open some doors into markets you guys haven't seen in a while. The upgrade in the impulse to the straight pull, that's something that's not new again, but newer to the market that a lot of people aren't going with. And obviously the shotguns, and a lot of people mention out there, it's nice to hear. And when we talk about this a lot, some of the best shotguns in the world, they come from Turkey. There's a lot of really good shotguns coming from Turkey, but I think a lot of people in the U.S., especially in the last few years, all that's going on, are really happy to hear that there is still companies out there that treasure made in the USA. So I think that's going to be a big one as well.
Since before we close out the shotguns,
the
320,
absolutely.
I mean, the 320s are still in production, right? Because that's a very popular pump shotgun.
Yeah, so we make the 320. So just from a branding standpoint, if you look at Savage, we have a facility that we make Savage firearms in Westfield, Massachusetts, and in Lakefield, Ontario, up in Canada. Rimfire are made in Canada. So North America is Savage. If it is an imported product, and we import Turkish shotguns, we import the 320 shotgun, it's a Stevens product. That's a definitive line between the two brands. We make some price point, we import some price point shotguns, home defense, things like that. They work really well. They're cost effective, but they are made overseas.
Well, that plays right into the question that I had. I put it out there in the private chat. I was like, before we get done, I got a company question. And my company was Stevens and Savage for many, many years have been synonymous and interchangeable. And I was curious if you could explain to people the relationship and which you partially did there.
Yeah. It's one company, two different brands. And we draw that line. You won't ever see a Stevens product that's made in the U.S., and you won't ever see a Savage product that's made overseas.
Cool.
Awesome. If there's no more if you guys have any quick questions right now is the time to get them in. We're going to start closing this down here in a minute. While maybe they're asking some questions, I do want to give Rob, I want to give you a couple minutes to maybe talk about where people can find you. I want to put the links out there. Obviously, you can find their social media on their website, savagearms.com. I think you have a presence on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all of that. You guys can find those links. But while Rob's talking about anything else you want to touch on or talk about where people can find you or anything like that, I'm going to give you a few minutes to kind of do that while maybe some last minute questions come in.
Sure. So we're on all those social media platforms as we sit today. Who knows where we'll be allowed to be in the future. We're working through some of that. SavageArms.com is the website. It's going to become more and more important for us as social media goes to the left-hand side of the political spectrum. And so SavageArms.com, we have a monthly newsletter. You can sign up on the website. That'll email directly to you. Tons of video, tons of education, not necessarily around Savage on the website, in terms of fit and how to properly fit a bolt action rifle to yourself. A lot of people don't think about that, but that's one thing that makes that AccuFit really special, is that it will make you more accurate. And so we're really trying to provide more service than just sell on our website. So there's a lot of information, not necessarily revolving around Savage.
There's a question that came up here. I want to bring up here. It's not a question that usually gets asked. Mandatory Carry says, if someone had a product idea, where would they send it? Do you guys ever get people send in ideas about different things?
Every day. Okay. And honestly, there's things that we build today or improvements that we've made that are solely because of that input. And so on the website down at the bottom, there's a contact us. There's a little form you can fill, submit ideas, and that goes straight into our sales support staff, filters through, goes to product managers, and they start to look at all of that.
I love the idea that not only do you have a contact us, everyone's got to contact us, but you've actually got a form for people to send in ideas. That's pretty cool, because a lot of companies are going to say, hey, we've got our own ideas. Not saying they don't value, but they've got so many things they're working on 3 years down the line. But it's nice to hear that companies are still saying, hey, if there's something you think could make a product that we have better or something like that, let's hear it. That's pretty cool. I like that. I like that a lot.
Absolutely. And there's products that we make today that we didn't design, that, there's other designers that have come up with this or that. And you've got to be open and willing to look at all possibilities to be successful long term.
Absolutely. Clove, do you have anything else out there or from you that we need to get asked before we get out of here?
Yeah, I mean, before we get out of here, I want to, obviously tell Rob thanks for coming on, and I also want to say thanks for something that we haven't talked about, which is rimfire related. The Mark I, Mark II stuff. I've got a couple decades in youth shooting sports. I've seen the Mark I, Mark II stuff walk into a competition and wipe the floor with Onschutz rifles. For the price point, for what you get, for the accuracy that those have, an absolutely amazing product. Entry level into small bore precision matches and stuff like that. That's usually my number one go-to recommendation, without a doubt. And light rifle matches, rimfire light rifle to an extent. And then the second thing for that, since we are talking youth shooting sports, is the Rascals. There are other small rifles out there. But I absolutely 100% recommend the Rascal for any very small frame child that's out there that you want to get into shooting. If for no other reason, they can, first of all, I've seen them hold their own in matches too, believe it or not. Which you wouldn't think that, as small as the barrel is and everything else. But, the articulation and manipulation of the bolt, of the controls, of the safety, of the trigger, of everything else, unlike a lot of the other smaller frame rifles, are identical to a larger hunting rifle when that kid gets older, 13, 14, 15 years old, whatever the case may be. They're used to the bolt articulation that is exactly the same. They're used to that safety being in a recognizable spot. And I think that's very important from a youth shooting sports standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. The Rascal is kind of that gateway product into becoming a Savage, fan or a Savage owner as people get older. And they do shoot. We build a tactical version of that Rascal. I don't know if you've seen it. That's kind of got a fiberglass looking stock and comes with a bipod and a little 4-power scope. And we get pictures on social media of Dad with his Elite Precision PRS gun and his 6-year-old son with that Rascal Tactical right next to him, shooting off the bench. And it's really cool. We do a lot for youth shooting sports. We do a lot with the Boy Scouts with those single shot Mark I's and then the Mark IIs and support a lot of those youth trap shooting is growing. And we just launched a 555 trap gun, cost effective single barrel trap gun, solely because of the growth in the youth trap leagues around the country. So it's an important part of what we do and who we are.
So a bunch of people out there that are saying, I want to bring up Richard. He says, enjoyed tonight's cast. Thank you very much. Yeah, great conversation and all of that. We asked a lot of our people that come on the show a couple questions just to kind of have fun with them. And one of them is one we ask everybody, and it's a weird one. But in your opinion, is a hot dog a sandwich? This goes back years, and it's just one of those inner jokes that a lot of our people in our crew run with, but it is a fun one to ask sometimes.
Yeah, I think a hot dog stands on its own. It really,
Thank you.
I'm not aware of any sandwich eating competitions on Memorial Day or whatever it is that, they stuff and drink the water out in Long Island or whatever.
It's
So
a hot
I think
dog eating contest.
yeah.
See, I haven't heard that argument, but I'm going to use that because that is a great one. But yeah, so that's always a fun one. Rob, thank you so much for coming in. Answered a lot of great questions. Thanks to the chat out there. Great questions as well. Obviously, thanks as always to Clover for running behind the scenes for me. If you're out there in replay or listening in podcast form or on Spotify or iHeart or Apple or wherever you're listening, the conversation doesn't have to end. If you have questions, go ahead and put comments down below. We will make sure that we get those questions to the appropriate people over at Savage and try to get an answer for you and all of that. Once again, if you have any direct questions that you want answered from Savage, the website's out there. It's also going to be everywhere. SavageArms.com. They do have a contact us form. More importantly, as we found out, thanks to mandatory carry, if you happen to have any design ideas or whatever, there is a form to fill out to send those to ideas to their designers. So I think is great. One quick question: what do you guys feel about 50 being useful or waste? What do you think about the 50 BMG? I'm assuming is what you're talking about, the BMG.
It's an awful lot of fun to shoot. There's
Agreed.
not many affordable.
Awful lot of fun to shoot.
Yeah, not many affordable platforms out there. So it's something we've talked about and looked at, and I probably would have been a little further along in that conversation if it wasn't for the 2020 surge that we've all been dealing with.
I love shooting a 50. You got to shoot it quite a bit in the Marine Corps, but I prefer a 338 Lapua. 300 Win Mag is going to get the job done as well. But you guys have 338 Lapua and all that. So I love the 50. I know Clover has a 50, enjoys shooting it, but once again, at what point do you need the 50?
That dog needs a lot of room to run. That's the thing. For it to really be fun. I mean, can you shoot?
Oh, you're right.
5-gallon buckets of water at 500 yards and giggle? I mean, yeah, but I mean, if you're able to hit them at 12 or 1500, it's even better. So, and I live in a really rural area, and getting that kind of space to let it run is difficult sometimes.
Yeah, there's only a couple places, half a dozen east of the Mississippi that that has that kind of distance to go have some fun with it. So we'll see. It's something to think about put up on our product board for future.
I'm fine with 338 Lapua, so I'm just saying. I'm a big fan of.
We make that. We make those, and they flat shoot. They do shoot.
Yeah, Marcus out there says, hey, he had his hands on a Savage 300 Win Mag tonight and absolutely loved it. So there you go. And I want to do, before we go, I want to say something that you mentioned in passing, but I don't think it gets mentioned enough. And I appreciate what you said. You said cost effective. And I think so many people think of lower price as being cheap, but not just monetarily cheap, but cheaply made. And that is by far not the case, at least in Savage's case, cost effective, because you're still getting quality. You're probably actually getting the best quality versus value out there in their products. But a lot of people translate cost versus quality, and that's not necessarily the case. So I love how you said it's cost effective. So anything else?
We say accuracy per dollar. Absolutely. Is a good way to look at it on the rifle side, at least.
Absolutely. Rob, thank you so much for coming in. If you have anything else before we get out of here, then go ahead and speak your piece. If not, we will start sweeping the floor.
Yeah, I appreciate the time, and thanks everybody for joining.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for watching, especially the live audience. It was great. Thank you for the questions. Great comments out there. Go check out SavageArms.com. Check out all their products. More importantly, if you're interested in their YouTube or Instagram feeds, go follow, like the Facebook and all of that. Subscribe to them and all of that. Oh, okay. We do have one question, and this actually is a question I think might be helpful. What's the difference in the 110 and 11?
So everything I don't know because
Okay. There you go.
if you go back through the history of Savage, there's 16s and 12s and 112s and 111s and ladies and so about 5 years ago we just said, this is too confusing for us.
There you go.
So it's 110 and we make a 110 Storm, we make a 110 Hunter, a 110 High Country.
These were other model numbers previously.
Right.
Yeah.
So, they're very, very similar, built on the same machinery. It's just, it's either finish or material between a 110 and 11.
Perfect. So there you go, guys. Once again, thank you so much for watching. If you're watching in replay or listening in podcast form, bless you. An hour, 19 minutes into this. I appreciate you guys doing this. Thanks to Clover. I think Clover might have probably hit a button by mistake. He jumped out by mistake. I'm sure he'll be right back. But thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll catch you soon. Next week, I think that we are going to be having Lionheart possibly come in. We had a cancellation. I think Lionheart Arms might take that one. And the week after that, we'll have Global Ordnance. We got a couple cool weeks of other people coming in. But thank you so much to Rob. Thank you so much to Savage for coming on. Love Savage as a company, and it was nice to have you guys on. More importantly, guys, go check out their products, and if you buy something, let them know that you heard about them through our podcast. We'll see you soon, guys. Semper Fi.